Dorothea Lange said the portrait is made more meaningful by intimacy, an intimacy not shared only by the photographer with his subject, but by the audience. What's up everybody, my name is Steven and welcome to Q Photos. So here we're going to be going over Dorothea Lange, a little bit about her history, and we're going to pick up a few techniques that she did during her time that we can go out and apply today. If you guys haven't watched the channel, definitely subscribe. Most of my videos are going to be this educational base where we pick a different photographer every week, go a little bit over their history and review a couple of techniques that once again we can go out and apply today. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hit that like button if you do. Leave a comment if there's any other photographer you want me to look into in the future. So to start with Dorothea Lange, her history is very rich. There's a lot of details that go into it, but for now we're just going to stick to the highlights. We're going to stick to the broad strokes of her history. I definitely encourage you guys to check out more about her life and about her history and definitely her photography. I have this book from her, Seeing People, that has most of her work in here. It definitely also has her history and things like that, so this is my main source for this video about the details of her life. Of course, I am doing the condensed version, but I definitely recommend to anybody who's more interested in Dorothea Lange to look into this book, check it out, see a lot of her artwork. It's really great. I definitely recommend it. So to give a short history about Dorothea Lange, she was born in 1895 in Hoboken, New Jersey. Unfortunately, she had a difficult childhood. She developed polio at a young age and it left her crippled. She always had to walk with a limp, especially when she was extra tired. Fun fact here, so from one of the sources I read, it looks like she was actually really great friends with Frida Kahlo. And Frida Kahlo also had polio as a kid, which left her crippled. And supposedly Dorothea saw this, and that's one of the ways that they had connected. I'm not going to say it's the main connection, but it is one of the things that Dorothea saw in Frida, and that's probably one of the things that helped them develop a personal relationship in the future. Back to the story. In addition to the polio, her father also separated her mother at a young age, and as Dorothea would put it, her father abandoned her. Now, by the time that her parents separated, they were living in San Francisco, and it looks like they came back to New York in order for her mother to work and her to go back to school. Now, by the time Dorothea reached college age, she decided she wanted to be a photographer, having no experience and no camera equipment. So she did two things. The first one is she got a job as an assistant for Arnold Genth, where she learned most of the hands-on techniques and how to talk to people and things like that. And then she also went to a seminar at Columbia Teaching College, I believe it is, by Clarence H. White, which kind of developed her more formal techniques and use of the camera. After a couple of years, she decided to go on a world trip with her friend, and unfortunately they got stuck in San Francisco. Now, I just want to mention here that different sources say kind of a few different things. Some of them say they ran out of money, and others made it seem like it was more intentional for her to stay in San Francisco. But the story is kind of the same, where they were traveling the world and they stopped at San Francisco and didn't leave. Now, while in San Francisco, Dorothea actually made many friends. She actually met her first husband and had 2 kids, and she even established her own photography studio. Safe to say, everything was going very well, and then the Great Depression was kicking in more and more, and she started to become more interested with what was going outside of her studio. And so she started to document the street and everything that was going on outside with her camera. Now, this led to one of her many famous photos, which is White Angel Breadline, which is similar to a shelter where people that were unemployed would go to eat. Now, as she kept developing this documentation of the Great Depression, she actually ended up meeting somebody called Paul Taylor, which in the future became her second husband. With time and the help of Paul Taylor, she actually started to work for the FSA, or Farmer Security Administration, where there they gave her multiple projects to work on, including documenting migrants from the Midwest and the South that came to the West after their farms had closed down. Now, of course, there were so many more projects than that, but that's just one of the more important ones because that is where she got the migrant mother, which is another one of her very famous photographs. Now, we can continue talking about Dorothea Lange's history, but I do want to get to the part about the techniques. I do encourage you guys to check her out. She definitely had a lot of work working with Native Americans, and she also had a lot of work with the Japanese camps during World War II here in the United States, and documenting everything from basically when she started all the way up into the 60s. So definitely check out her work, definitely check out more of her history. It's so much and it's really great, and she made a powerful impact on the world with her photography. So what are things that Dorothea Lange did that we can do today? Well, to start off, in this book, Seeing People, it does mention that with Arthur Gent's help, she learned to develop kind of, I wouldn't say an empathy, but a way to communicate with people. And that's important for us photographers to know how to speak with people, how to make them feel comfortable, and how to actually empathize with people. Because, especially in her time when she's documenting the Great Depression, you want the person to feel comfortable with you. If you're asking them to take a photograph and you're asking them to stand in front of the camera, whether that be a model or whether that be somebody in the street, you need to make them feel comfortable. And so having a great communication skill is definitely important to all photographers, regardless of what you do. And having that empathy there is very necessary, especially for Dorothea Lange. And that's how she was able to get all these photos. Maybe it was the fact that she had already a tough past, so she could understand what people felt. And so they empathized with her as she empathized with them, and put that together with good communication skills makes the person in front of the camera feel more comfortable. Another thing I want to focus on for Dorothea Lange is definitely her composition. She, of course, has a lot of contrast in her photos. Sometimes she uses wide open spaces, and she does a lot of cropping. Now, the cropping is necessary during her time because she had a large format camera. She had this big, bulky camera that she had to carry around. It was really heavy. And of course, I don't think anybody wants that in their face. So she would have to pull the camera back, grab a larger picture, and then she would crop in. And the fact that I'm emphasizing on the crop is because sometimes you need to crop or you need to focus on that singular subject so you can get not the story around them, but the story of the person. And I think that's very important, just like with the migrant mother. Now, of course, story is always important. You want to tell the story correctly, especially when you're telling other people's stories. When she was doing all of these camps or when she was doing the Great Depression, the story is always the most essential, and how you compose it makes a difference. All right, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. Definitely explore more of Dorothea Lange's work. Definitely check out her book, Seeing People. I think there's also different books, but this is the one that I picked up and I thought it was very interesting. Of course, she has a very, very rich history, so I definitely recommend reading it and going through multiple sources about it. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button below. Leave a comment about another photographer that we can look into, or anything we could even learn from Dorothea Lange. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys on the next one.